गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा।
For every book, it is only as good as its introduction. The same lies with the Gita, which begins with Dhritarashtra's heavy question, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsava, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Even before arrows fly, Dhritarashtra has already drawn the real line of war, my sons and the sons of Pandu. Therein lies the Gita's first warning. Society fractures the moment we divide people into camps of ownership and otherness. That is the Gita's earliest question. That is its lesson. If we must fight that outer war of Kurukshetra, we need to first conquer our inner habit of separation.
Hari Om, I want to share the lesson that I have learned from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It's not just a scripture, it's a conversation between confusion and clarity. The lesson that impacted me the most is stand up again. Even the mightiest warrior, Arjuna, collapsed in doubt. But Krishna didn't say escape. He commanded rise and fight.
Today I want to share you a timeless lesson which I have learned from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which has the power to transform how we approach our daily life. So we live in a world which is obsessed with results. Before we even begin a task, we are worried about its result or outcome. Srimad Bhagavad Gita teaches us that karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. It means you have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of its action. Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita taught me that true clarity does not come from avoiding life's difficulties. It comes from meeting them with a calm and steady mind. When I choose courage over confusion and stay centered even in chaos, I am able to see the right path even more clearly.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita teaches that change is the law of nature, a concept explained through the impermanence of the physical body and the constant flux of the world. Krishna Ji advises Arjun to understand this principle to avoid fear and attachment, emphasizing that while the body changes from childhood to old age, the eternal soul is unchanging. Embracing this view helps one maintain equanimity in the face of life's inevitable changes, whether good or bad. Hare Krishna.
Jayadhari Ma, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Rupa ji, very welcome, very welcome. We welcome our children, Mommy Gratitude. I want to show you the book. I had this, I picked it up a long time back, and we did not know we were going to be meeting you like this. It's a delightful book, and I think Lord has blessed you with this. Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna to all of you. Wish you all a very, very blessed Bhagavad Srimad Bhagavad Gita Jayanti, Gita Jayanti, Gita Ji. It's the Lord's song. It's the Lord's Vani. Mummy, Ji, why don't you share your thoughts and then we start talking to Rupa Ji.
Whatever I've heard so far from these, thank you, Rupa, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Bedi.
I know we were looking for you, and it turned out to be the Gita Day. What better could it be, Rupa? So, love to listen to you and today hear and educate myself more. But so far, whatever the little girls have said so far, Anushka said, we have four. Whoever said, I heard Anushka, Ananya,
Anushka will
Ipsita,
join you.
Acha, Johnny, Ipsito,
Yes.
Harita, what wonderful names you have. Harita
Harita.
and
Harita.
Ishtavi. Look at these names, interesting names.
Isha.
Anushka, Ananya, Ipshita, Ipshito, Harihata. Wow, what are the names coming from? From the book Gita. Is the
Mama,
Gita all these?
they've all grown up. Just
Huh?
they've grown up so beautifully in front of us, and
Lovely.
to hear them
You,
talk is very blessed. What they've
Yes.
said, very
whatever
blessed.
you said so far is so much, so very. I'm wondering where is it coming from? I'm sure Rupa, you must be impressed too.
Very, very, actually. They seem to have internalized some of the core concepts beautifully. Yeah.
हाँ, that was the appear कि ये मैं इनको सुन लूं क्योंकि ये तो मुझे नहीं आता है.
Yeah, true.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Rupa ji, just you want to share your thoughts, or would you like to start? Would you like to share your thoughts about how you wrote the book? How did it come to you? Because it's Lord's blessing to you. And
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
beautiful what you say in the beginning. To the readers of this book, good luck finding the Krishna inside you. It won't be easy, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah. You'll notice, Saina, that I've said it won't be easy, but they say it's totally worth it because I'm also on the quest. It's not like I have found it and I can say it is worth it because all of us are on a lifelong quest to find the Krishna inside us. And we also know that Krishna is just a placeholder name. We can think of, because it is just we are referring to our own higher self. So you can call him by any, him, her, it, by any other name, but you know that your own best friend is inside of you and she has your back, whatever it is. So and it's a great journey. It's a great journey to stay on it your whole life to find that voice inside you that always knows what's best for you. And it's hard to find that voice because it's always being drowned out by so many other voices that that are telling you, that giving you so many different pieces of advice that you're so confused, you don't know which one to follow. But when you listen to Krishna, you're listening to your true nature, your true inner voice, and it will guide you. And perhaps what it tells you will be quite different from what everybody is telling you. It's quite different from what people are, what you have to do to make you popular. It may be different from what you have to do to be liked, but it knows what is best for you. And anyone who we know, like, in our own country, like Mahatma Gandhi or Dr. Bedi herself, has always followed that very strong inner voice, your own moral compass. And only when you walk that path without, what did Arjuna do? In the opening, like what Ipshito was talking about, the very first verse telling us, where Dhritarashtra separated the Pandavas from the Kauravas and sort of laid himself open to this loss of wisdom that happened during the course of the war. It's the same opening visual of the Bhagavad Gita is such a powerful reminder, because the visual is of a chariot in the center of the battlefield, and on one side are the mighty Kauravas, the ruling army of Hastinapura with 11 Akshahinis. They have been able to pull in so many different armies and kings to their side because they are the rulers. And on the other side are the Pandavas with just 7 Akshahinis, people they have been able to pull in. On the Kaurava side, there are 100 brothers On the Pandava side, there are only five brothers, and both sides are just in the nippy November morning are eager to fight a war. And in that setting, the chariot in the center of the battlefield is Arjuna telling Krishna, please drive me to the center of the battlefield. I want to actually make eye contact with all those guys on the other side and let them know that their angel of doom is coming to get them and they won't be standing by this evening. And Krishna says, okay, fine, I'll drive you. But what happens now? Imagine this chariot in the middle of the battlefield. There are four white horses pulling it. There is Kapidhwaja on the top with Hanuman sitting on the top. There is Krishna, radiant, dark skinned, as the charioteer. And behind him, the greatest warrior of the Kuru army, Arjuna, the archer, standing golden in the breaking dawn with his broad shoulders and his slim hips and his Gandiva in his hand, striking terror in everyone. And while both sides, he's on the Kaurava side, people are quaking in their shoes. On the Pandava side, they feel their morale rising as their hero is there to take on the other side. And in that moment, Arjuna is assailed by doubt. When he makes eye contact with people on the other side, he says, what am I actually doing? And then he collapses to the floor of the chariot. His hands go clammy with sweat. The Gandiva slips from his hands. His knees buckle. He collapses. Now, if he cared even a whit for what people watching him would think, he would not have done it. He did not care. He would have stood there and said, okay, you know what, I'm in a dilemma, but I'll think about it later because now a war has to be fought. Surely I can't make a fuss now. I have to stand up and finish the job. I can't start fussing now. And if he had done that, he would not have listened to his inner voice, because he would have said, let's just get it over with, because there are so many pressures, right? If I put my arms down now, perhaps the Kauravas will win, or they will, get morale. And on the Pandava side, they will probably talk of me as a traitor, a coward who walked away from the battlefield, who forsook his duty. There won't be ballads about me in the coming generation saying what a great warrior he was. We put ourselves so much about what our fate will be so many times that we don't take good decisions. But Arjuna the Pandava did not care. In that moment, he only was confused and he just wanted to lay his dilemma at the foot of his best friend and say, you tell me what to do. I don't care what people are thinking. And that visual is so powerful that stop thinking about what others are saying or what others might think. Shut down the voices in your head that say you will get into trouble if you do this. It is, you won't be popular if you do this. You might lose your dignity if you do this. Only if you shut down those voices will you hear the still small voice of your Krishna, because neither the Pandavas are outside of us nor the Kauravas are outside of us. They're all voices in our own head. And only if you shut those down will you hear the voice of your Krishna. So so when I first came upon this visual, it was so arresting for me. And I had never understood it properly, because I always thought Krishna was God, because it was always this, right? Krishna is standing like this and Arjuna is kneeling. And I never thought of them as being best friends. And once that came through to me, I realized the whole Gita is basically a conversation between two best friends. And it didn't come to me easily, in that sense it came to me, but I resisted so much. I said, I'm a cool children's author. I don't write about ancient, fusty, musty texts. They could have so many problems. They're meant for old people. They're about death. I had all these stereotypes in my head, and when my editor suggested it, and I absolutely resisted for 6 months. And for some reason, my editor, who I call my Krishna, she does this over and over again. She just takes my chariot into battlefields that I want to run away from and says, do your dharma, do your writerly dharma, write that book. And she was the one, Vatsala called Banerjee of Heshet India. So she was the one who somehow believed in me and said, no, you've got to do it. And after 6 months, I sort of, my resistance crumbled, because she said, have you even read the text in its entirety to make all these judgments about it? And I said, very sheepishly, I said, actually, no. And she said, don't you think that would be fair to the text to read it first and understand it before you make all these, have all these opinions about it? And I said, yes. and I began to read. I didn't know Sanskrit. I have never studied it. At that time, I hadn't. Now in COVID, I studied a bit of Sanskrit, but at that time, I hadn't. The book is 10 years old this year. And I took English commentaries from the West, from the East, from religious people, from spiritual heads of mutts, from ordinary people, from thinkers. And I put it all together and I began to read, and my mind was blown, Saina. I said, what a fabulous text. Why have I not been introduced to it before? Why am I so old before I came upon it for the first time? My life would have been so different. And that's how I think I was guided. It was just, they would not let me go. It said, you have to do it. And once I read it, it spoke to me so deeply that the writing of it wasn't hard at all because it resonated with what I felt.
What has this process done for you personally while you were? What a beautiful journey,
Yeah,
no?
it is. It's surreal. It's unbelievable. I can't even believe it actually happened to me. It was one of those organic things which I tried to I tried to be the obstacle in my own way, but Krishna decided, no, just take it out. You will write it. So yeah, it feels like that now. Yeah. And you asked me how did it change me? Oh my God, it was the most transformative thing. I I I didn't know that a text written, I don't know how many, at least 2,500 years ago, composed at least 2,500 years ago, could could have heard the voice in my own soul and echoed it back to me, like things that I felt that were right or right for me, but which everybody had said no. Like, competition, for instance. I hate being competitive. I just hate it. But competition is always held up as the thing. You will not survive if you're not competitive. You have to have the killer instinct. You have to go after that other person, whether it's in sport or study or academics. It's always put forward as the thing. You have to always know where you are among a crowd. Are you ahead? Are you behind? And the whole point is to be ahead of everyone else. And that somehow had never appealed to me. I've always been a very good student in school and everything, but it was not because I wanted to be better than everybody else. It was just that I perhaps enjoyed learning, and I had a good memory. That was a gift. And in an Indian education system of my time, it was a good memory was all it took, to do well in academics. So I was doing well, but I didn't like that thing of you are first and you are second. It never really appealed to me. And then when I came across the Gita for the first time, 10 years or 12 years ago, and I began to read it, and Krishna says, your only competition is you. You have to be a better person today than you were yesterday, a better person in this moment than you were. And that appealed to me so much. So it doesn't say don't compete at all, just sit. No, you're constantly competing, but not with others. Are never your yardstick. You are your own yardstick. You are your own benchmark. You walk alone and you do better every single day. Things like that. And the other thing that it really made me affected me in a way that do not be judgmental of other people. Everybody has their own journey, their own perspective, and all those journeys and all those perspectives are absolutely valid. So you cannot decide whose is valid, whose is not. You are either with me or against me. No, all of us are just on our journeys. And there is this American monk called Ramdas, Guru Ramdas. I forget his original name, but he says so beautifully, we are all just walking each other home. That's all we are here for, walking each other home. So that was such a beautiful thing that yeah.
Wonderful. You know what we can do is we can start taking questions from our
Yes.
children,
Yes.
and then आप आंसर करें. मम्मी, what do you, जो भी आपकी इच्छा है आप बोलें, and if there is space, then I'll kind of add in, come in also, so we can take, so that all that's coming to their mind and their
Yeah.
curiosity वो आज पूरी हो. ठीक है, तो वो करते हैं फिर. हरिता बेटा, we start with your question and what's coming to your mind.
Ma'am, my question is
Why did Bhagwan Krishna chose Arjuna to tell these profound teachings? Why not the
Yeah,
other Mahamaharathis were present? Why aren't they doubtful? They were also doubtful, but still he chose Arjuna to tell those teachings. Why, if you
yeah.
can ask?
That's a very good question, actually. It's a very good question. Why did Krishna choose Arjuna? So I have no answers. Like, I can't be sure that these are the answers, but this is my opinion. Like, what I feel is why he chose. If we know the Mahabharata, the sort of characters of the others. Who were the great warriors on the field? There was Bhima, there was Yudhishthira, I mean, there was Duryodhana, there was Karna, Bhishma. So there were so many, Drona. These were all the great warriors. They were on the Pandavas, all of them were very good. Why did he choose Arjuna? So I'd like to say that Arjuna had a questioning mind. He asked questions. He challenged authority. People told him this is how you should do it. He always wondered why. If your mind is not open enough, or if you're not curious enough to question received wisdom, new wisdom cannot come to you. If you say, okay, somebody has given me this wisdom, I'm just going to take it. The point of being a human being and having a mind that can reason is that one must use it to question. And especially as young people, you must question authority, you must question long held beliefs and traditions. And why do you do it this way? Because it has always been done this way should never be an answer that you're willing to accept, or because it is right, because it is good. You say, and if you notice anything that you don't feel is right, you have to ask. Now, Arjuna was that kind of questioning person. He never accepted. Also, he was nobody, of course, there was nobody who was not flawed in the Mahabharata. The greatness of the Mahabharata is every character is flawed in some way. There is no ultimate good person, and there is no ultimate villainous person either. We all, and that's why it reflects us. We all have shades of gray. But which side do you walk towards? Do you walk towards the light consistently, or do you walk towards the darkness? Do you constantly try to be better, try to make the better decision, think deeply before you act, or are you just going to do whatever is popular? So in that sense, Arjuna was always his own person. Remember that archery thing where Dronacharya is asking, "What do you see? What is a bird hanging on the tree, and you're supposed to shoot its eye? What do you see?" And all the other kids say, "I see the trees, I see the forest, I see the string." And Arjuna is the only one who says, "I see nothing but the eye of the bird." Right? So he was always very courageous about expressing what he saw. He didn't want to be with the crowd. He if everybody had an answer, he would have a different answer always. Okay, and he had his flaws. We know what happened with Eklavya, right? He was so threatened by another archer being as good as him, or doing something that he hadn't been able to do, or he didn't know if he could do, that he immediately went to his teacher. So he has dealt with the darkness in his soul. He has constantly engaged with darkness and light, and tried to go towards the light, being pulled back by the darkness. All that has happened to him. But in that sense, and but you see, what about Duryodhana? He will not listen. He's so sure that he knows he can only see his own purpose. He's very uh, not obsessed, but self driven. What do I want? What's good for me? He can't see what other people want, what may be good for them. It's not his concern. So to that kind of person, one cannot teach. A teacher also has to pick a receptive student. Only if the student is open to listen, then the teacher gets some joy out of it. Otherwise, it's like hitting an impenetrable wall. So Arjuna was always a little more open because he himself was not sure. So he's willing to listen if somebody tells him something. What about Yudhishthira? Yudhishthira was like, he was so stuck to doing things by the book. I will not lie means I will not lie. And sometimes, but the Gita is all about circumstantial dharma. In this circumstance, what is my dharma? It's not like I have to always tell the truth. In some cases, it may not be the wisest thing to tell the truth as it is. But Yudhishthira would not be able to see those things. He's like, no, I have my rule book, and I'm going to do exactly as it says. But Arjuna always questions. In this but it's, yeah, I know everybody says that this is what I should do, but in this circumstances, is it wise? Is it right? Is it good for everybody concerned? Will it harm someone? Will it harm me? So he always asks. But most importantly, I think he chose Arjuna because Arjuna trusted him implicitly. Arjuna would listen because he believed Krishna had all the answers. And why did Arjuna believe that Krishna had all the answers? Because he had cultivated a very close friendship with Krishna over so many years. They were really best buddies, and they spent a lot of time together. And he had so many times he had placed his problems at Krishna's he had shown he has asked Krishna to solve his problems, or placed his problems in his hands and said, what do you think, what do you think? So they'd had discussions, and every time Krishna had given him a piece of advice, Arjuna found out later that it worked. He seemed as if Krishna knew him better than he knew himself. So that trust is also important. It's called shraddha. It's a questioning faith. You have faith in the process, you have faith in the person, but you're not it's not blind faith. So but you complete shraddha is you trust that person. So that is why Krishna said, and he asked. That was the other thing. He asked. He said, you tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Okay. In the beginning also, he said, you convince me that it's right to fight, and I'll fight. And he listened with open ears. He was vulnerable, he was confused. The thing is, when you're vulnerable and confused, and yourself a little helpless, that's when you take you're in a fit state to receive. If you think you're so strong and you know everything, there is no space to receive. So Arjuna was in that space, and he had his best friend, and he had come to him so many times. And Krishna knew that if I tell this guy, he will actually listen. And proximity. Proximity is a metaphorical proximity. They are next to each other in the chariot, but they're actually next to each other in their hearts. That is what is. So that's why I think that's why he chose Arjuna.
Uh, Rupaji, I'd just like to add a little, with your permission, my
Sure, sure.
little.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, Beta,
Yes, ma'am.
पहले तो the Lord will choose you.
Yeah.
The Lord will handpick you. You can't decide. That's my faith. Now, whatever I'm sharing with you is my experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
life from my perspective. So, this is another thing. Today, you will hear everything and start experiencing it. You will think about it. You will pray on it. And then you will apply it to your own life the way it fits you.
Yes.
So, this is great that you're getting experiences and thoughts and views from all of us together. And what I'm saying, Rupaji, please, I have not studied the Shastras. I am only speaking um, as a beta. The Lord will pick you. The Lord will hand pick you. Now, are you ready to be a vessel? Are you ready to be a patra? Are you ready to let the Lord's music flow through you? Now, how will that flow through you if you have a very strong eye? Arjuna did not have an eye. Not in
I
front,
the
not
letter
in
I. Yeah. Okay.
not in front of Lord Krishna. And his eye was empowered by Lord Krishna to go out there and do the Lord's work. Arjuna did nothing for his own glory. It was Krishna's glory. There is a story. जब युद्ध होने वाला होता है तो अर्जुना goes to Lord Krishna. Duryodhan also goes. Lord does a leela of being in Nidra. Duryodhan goes and sits towards Lord's head. And Arjuna goes and sits at Lord's feet. Are you ready for that? The I and the Lord's love and the name cannot coexist. The emptiness inside you will fill you up with the Lord's name. Your question is, why Arjuna? Because Arjuna only wanted Krishna. I'll ask you a question. Give Arjuna all the fame, name, well being, glory, riches, and the Lord's love. What is he going to take? He gets all this, but he doesn't get the Lord. He has a path to walk, but he has the Lord. Where will Arjuna's eyes go? The easy answers, the easy solutions, the comfort zone, or the righteous path with the Lord? So that's the answer. The Lord knew that Arjuna will walk the path with my name. Rupaji, please, Mummy, this is, I think it's love. It's love. Arjuna's love for Lord Krishna could not be matched. That's how I feel.
No,
Rupaji.
I think I said about the same thing, but I used some different words, I feel.
Let's
Yeah.
go to the second. Let's go to the second student.
Yes. Ipshito.
Let her ask
Yes.
him.
Ipshito, our big boy.
Ask, boy.
My question to you would be when Krishna shows Arjuna his Vishwarupa, Arjuna can hardly take it. He instantly reverts back and says, I want to see you as my friend, nothing more. Why is this the case? And after that, why does Krishna choose Arjuna to reveal the Vishwarupa too if he knows that Arjuna cannot take it? Cannot take that magnitude of power and pure uh, outburst of creation itself.
Yeah, well, Krishna revealed himself in that form because Arjuna asked to see him in that form. Arjuna begged him to reveal himself, and it's not a sight granted to everyone at all. But because Arjuna was so curious and so eager to see the Lord as he to see Krishna in his universal form as creation itself, and that's why Krishna was just indulging his devotee friend, the not even devotee friend, it was the curious mind, the person who really seeks, the seeker. If you go seeking after it and say, I'm willing to take whatever it is, however hard it may be to digest, I'm willing to see it, just show me who you truly are. And why was that so magnificent and so scary and wonderful and awesome at the same time? It was terrifying as much as it was magnificent. And why is that? Because truth is that. Truth is not simple, it's not beautiful. Truth is complex, truth is prickly, truth is complicated. And only if you can take the truth in its entirety, if you have a heart and mind large enough to embrace the truth in all its complexity and difficulty, then it will be revealed to you. Otherwise, you can't take it at all. You won't know what, you'll get even more confused. But here, Krishna was saying the truth is not easy to bear. There is no simple truth. Even Oscar Wilde says that the truth is rarely pure and never simple. Whose truth? Because it's also whose truth. Your truth is very different from somebody else's truth. It's very much dependent on perspective, point of view, your experience, the family you've grown up in, your mindset, your nature. To everybody, the truth looks different. Only something as all encompassing, as compassionate, as able to see from 1,000 million different eyes, only an entity like that will be able to see truth from every perspective and still not be judgmental about any of them. So when something is terrifying and awe-inspiring, you can't choose. You have to, if you take the awe-inspiring, you have to take the terrifying with it. Because any journey that you make, any quest in your life, any journey, is going to be full of both contradictions always. Nothing will be entirely smooth and beautiful and awe-inspiring, and nothing will be entirely so scary that you can't walk the path. You walk the razor's edge. The Upanishads talk about walking the razor's edge. It's a very precarious journey. There'll be, at any given time, you can fall or you can rise. It doesn't always depend on your decisions or your choices. There are too many other actors in the play. You don't know what's going to happen. But if you take the courage and say, show it to me, I will see it, I will take it. Whatever you show to me, however difficult it is to take, however awful it is to bear, I'm ready. Then you have some chance of success in your quest. Then you go on. But too much of that all the time was too much. And then he said, you know what? I can't bear it anymore. Just come and be my friend again, please. Because that form of yours, I can take it, it gives succor to my soul. So please come back. And so Krishna said, okay, you had a glimpse of it. The path ahead is not going to be easy because, even though Arjuna did pick up his bow and fight, at the end of the war, again, he must have had his doubts. What did I do? What did I just do? I lost everything. It's not just because at one point you are very firm in your decision, have thought about it, I'm mindful. You cannot even imagine all the consequences that will result as a result of your action. But whatever those consequences are, you have to embrace them because they came about because of your action. Only you can take them. So all these are revealed in that moment.
Yes, beautiful. Mama, any thoughts coming to your mind?
I'm still listening. I'm relishing. I'm still
Rupaji is
absorbing. I'm
yes,
still absorbing.
Rupaji is really explaining it beautifully to the children. Beta, Ipshitu, you can only see the Lord as long as the Lord wants you to see the Lord. You can't see the Lord if the Lord says, now go back to your karma. And beta, our bodies are made up of 5 elements, our physical body. To see the Sakshat Roop of the Lord, our body also must be ready to see, to witness. Your question is very intense. But as children, as householders, just feel so much of love for the Lord that sometimes when you're praying, let the tears flow because you love the Lord and you feel a deep connect with the Lord. And you feel the Lord being with you every step of the way when you're writing your exam, when you're eating food, when you're bathing, when you're talking, when you're doing social media, connect everything with the Lord. You'll see the Lord in everything and it'll start getting purified. You'll start making the right choices. So try that. Try that, bache. Ji, Ishanvi, yes, yes.
Hare Krishna, ma'am. My question is, how can one remain detached while fulfilling worldly duties with full sincerity, as taught in the concept of Nishkam Karma?
Yes, one of the most difficult questions in the world because it is very, very hard to remain detached. You can try all you will, but your nature will force you to. How can you not be attached? It's so hard. It's easy to talk about, far, far more. It's easy to intellectualize, easy to theorize about, but in practice, it's very, very hard. Even when you think that I am very detached, life will come and show you that no, you're actually very, very attached to life, to people, to things, to objects. We get so attached to objects, even. So, how to be detached? So, Krishna has some advice for Arjuna in that how to be detached. So, what is Nishkama Karma? We know that most famous verse of the most famous sloka of the Bhagavad Gita. You only have, and you say adhikara, karmanyeva adhikaraste. So I like to interpret it as control rather than right. So you only have control over your action. You actually have no control over the outcome of the action. Right? How you can say, I'm going to really study so hard, but can you then say, for sure, I will come out on top of the class? You can't. You can study all you will. But you can't say that that will take me to the top of the class. No, because there are too many other elements at play. You can't. Okay. And you need some special X factors. You need so many things to go your way to be able to do that. And the Gita says, why then would you focus on something that you have no control over? Why would you waste time, effort, emotion? Why would you put that into something that you have no control over? Let me take care of that. You please do your work. Do your work sincerely. Be able to tell yourself at the end of the day that I did my very best as far as studying for this exam went. I could not have done any more. And then, as a result of that, if you also come out on top, great. But if you don't, at least you can hand on heart tell yourself that I did my very best. Because that's all any of us can do. We can do our very best. We can't really say that we will do this and become this. But there's a very, so one way to say is don't focus on the outcome. How? Why? But you have to have a goal. You can't simply keep walking randomly also. There has to be some kind of goal. But once you set the goal, if you keep your eyes on the goal, then you're not looking at the path in front of you. But actually, every step you take is very important. And the better step, if you take a more considered step, it will lead you closer to the goal. If you take a wrong step, it will take you off the path. So instead of focusing on the goal, focus on every step that you take. Live in the moment. Think about today, what can I do to get to that goal? Goal is there far away, something nebulous in the distance. You can't even see it clearly, but you can see where your next step leads. So be very mindful of where you put that next step. And so that is one way to be detached. You have a goal, but just focus on the now, on what you're doing now rather than how you will achieve that. What else? How else do you practice detachment? Mm, yeah, it's also it's not a great idea to say, I'm studying so hard because I want to come first. One thing is you can't control the outcome. The other thing is when you say, I want to achieve something, you're almost in this kind of competitive world, you're almost saying that I don't want anyone else to achieve that. If I have to come first, then everybody else has to come second, third, or fourth. I don't care how hard they study, how much they may need that to get ahead in life, but I want to be on top. And that's kind of a toxic thought to put out into the world. But mainly focusing on the goal distracts you from the effort, which is now. And I think that is how do you practice is understand. Okay, here's another example. Think of life as a movie. You are just the watcher, you are the witness, you're just the sakshi. Okay, you're just watching things happen to people around you and to yourself. Even to yourself, you're a sakshi. So put yourself, pull yourself out of your mind and watch your mind and watch your life. When you watch a film, unless you feel with the characters, unless you cry, unless you laugh with them, it's not a great film and the enjoyment is not great. If you say, I'm going to be detached from the film and just watch like this, it's not fun. So when we in a dark movie hall, we enter into the lives of those characters, we feel for them, we cry for them, all of that is great. But there's always a parallel thought process in our mind which tells us it's just a movie. It's just a movie. At the end of 3 hours, you're going to walk out and you're going to be the same. Nothing is going to have happened to you. If we can have that same attitude while we're looking at our lives and somebody else's lives and say, yes, it's all happening and I'm enjoying it. It's a beautiful journey. I'm grieving and all that is there. But, it's just a film. It's just, I am very separate from it. I am invincible. Nothing can actually affect me. So you don't confuse your emotions with yourself. You don't confuse that somebody is being mean to me. No, they're not being mean to you. They are dealing with something in their heads which makes them behave in that way. So if you can have that kind of thing, and even if you think of success and failure as just experiences, everything is an experience, then you can practice detachment. If you take success too much to yourself, that I made this happen, if I do the same thing next time, I will win because I made it happen, then you'll be disappointed. And that disappointment will be far worse than if you didn't think of it that way, than if you didn't think I did it. Failure also, we beat ourselves up so much if we perceive that we have failed. But really, what is failure? Somebody else is telling you have failed. In your life, in your mind, you can put it down as another experience of life, which helps you grow. Every failure is actually a stepping stone to understanding yourself better. And the whole purpose of life is to understand who you are so that you can act closer and closer to your specific nature. As long as you act according to your nature, which is what Krishna advised Arjuna to do. He said, you're a Kshatriya, your nature is to fight. You can walk away from the battlefield and go to the Himalayas. You can leave the battlefield. Do you think the battlefield will leave you? Because this is what you are meant for. So one, and he actually, what Krishna was doing was giving Arjuna an understanding of who he was. And once you know who you are, everything becomes clear. There's so much clarity. Uh, and the other thing of detachment is don't make emotional decisions, because your emotion is not you. That is detachment. Detachment is not like you become cold, but you remove little by little the emotions, especially when you have to make a big decision, and say unemotionally, using my reason, what is the best, most effective thing to do. We all know this. If somebody is deeply affected by some loss of somebody close to them, they get paralyzed. They cannot function because they are so clouded by emotion. And then you, as a third person, because you're not that close, you can see their problem clearly, you can see what needs doing, and you can do it. So when you're not clouded by emotion is when you take the best decisions, when you're most effective. So to be able to do that, that is the kind of detachment he's talking about. You are still helping your friend, you are being so compassionate, you're being so loving to that friend, but that kind of emotion is not clouding your mind, it's helping you think better. That is the kind of detachment to cultivate.
Thank you. We've got a little time left. Let's take the other two
Two
questions
questions,
first.
quickly, quickly,
Well,
yeah.
then we can share. Yes. Anushka, beta.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My question is the Supreme Personality of Lord Krishna seems to surrender everything unto him. But how do we differentiate surrender from escape from responsibilities?
Okay. Yeah, that's another very important question that's asked all the time. What does surrender mean? Right? And a lot of people, when they talk about the Gita or any other scripture, they will say the scripture says, Krishna says this to surrender. But a lot of time what is missed out is Krishna also says something else. Okay, so when you can read it or understand it in its entirety, all the things that Krishna says, otherwise it feels like it's being taken out of context. He says surrender everything to me, but he also says very clearly that inaction is not an option. Inaction is not an option. You can't just sit down and say, I have surrendered to Krishna. That is not what you do. You do what you need to do, your dharma, with full, whatever your duty is, whatever you need to do in that circumstance, you do it any without any, you do 200% of it. Okay, so surrender means surrender the outcome, whatever is going to come as a result of your action, that you offer to the Lord, because you can't control it. Offer to the universe. Say, you know, I don't know what will happen, but since I have given my very best effort, I know that whatever happens, I I will not have regrets about it. I will not say if I had thought about it better, I would have done it better. Because that is what is actually the thing that destroys us, remorse. If only, if only, if only. But if you had taken the time and the space to think about what your action should be and then do that, then you can say whatever happens after that is up to the universe. If it'll happen, somebody, it will be taken care of, and whatever happens, I will embrace the results of that action. The consequences are mine, because with all the reason that was given to me, with all the guidance that was given to me by everyone around me, and like your parents growing up and everything, and my own inner self, in my mind, I have taken the best decision I possibly could have under the circumstances. I have worked very hard. I have done whatever I could. Now I put it on I offer it to the universe. Why should you offer it to the universe or to the Lord? Because you have received so much. you have received so much. You have received life, you have received breath, you have received intelligence, you have received a perfectly functioning body, and the sun shines for the sun rises every day, that there are trees around you, nature is doing its thing. There's so much beauty you have received, and therefore one must give back. And in that sense, is what it is said. Just leave that, leave the rest. You do your part like every other creature in the world is doing its part. That's all you need to do. And things will happen as a result of it.
जी 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 Ananya, बच्चे, would you like to ask your question, beta?
Yes, ma'am. So, good evening, ma'am. My question to you is that in your experience of writing the Gita for children, what was the single or most challenging concept to translate or basically to simplify to young audience, and how did you manage to make it relatable?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I think the not hardest, but what was the challenge was how to take a text of 700 verses, which usually is interpreted verse by verse. In most of the Gitas that I read, it would be done verse by verse. Okay, so this is the shloka, and then the meaning, and then the next shloka. And what used to happen was by the time I reached the 10th shloka or something, I would have lost the thread of it. Like, how did it start? Where is it going? Why did this? I felt there were some pieces that I could put in between to make it easier to flow like a story rather than go by shloka. I thought for children it would be best if you get this, if I got the sense of it and then made it flow like a story. But that was one challenge. Okay, so I said, how do I make the shlokas instead of doing one by one? How to make it into a story? So that because children's attention is held by stories, not so when they, especially for children. And the other thing was, I wanted to make it relatable to them, but I didn't want to dilute the text. I did not want them to ever lose sight of the fact that they were reading something ancient, classical. So I said, I can't have them speak to each other in very contemporary English, like two teenagers would speak today to each other. I can't do that because then they would imagine that it is as relevant to today as it was then, but it comes from an ancient text, and I don't want them to lose sight of that. But I do want to address kids in a conversational tone because that's what they respond to, and I want to tell them something, a lesson from the Gita in a way that they will understand. So then I came up with this idea of two parts to each chapter. One part was what we used to call in our with my editor, we used to call them the white pages. So the white pages are the parts where I actually talk about what happens in that chapter, and then we added gray pages at the end of every chapter, which was me talking to the children and saying how what lesson can you take from this chapter for your life, and giving them a few examples. That tone was very conversational. I could talk to them like, my friends, so I'm just talking to you. So I could use this kind of language, and so that seems to have worked. So they'll get the text, they maybe don't understand the whole of it, but somewhat get it, and then they come to this and say, okay, so that is fine as the text, but what can I take from it for my life? So that was what was my challenge, and that was how I dealt with it. And I hope that if you have read the book, I hope you have enjoyed that shift in tone. Yeah,
जी जी Thank you so much. Mummy,
thank
would
you.
you like to share your thoughts? And then
How would you place, Rupa,
Mm.
the applicability of the Gita in good governance?
In good governance. Oh, let me see. Uh, I think one thing is being a good leader is to sh- try many ways of getting the message across to people, because not everybody takes the message in exactly the same way. And in the Gita, Krishna approaches the message in so many ways. First, he says, stand up and fight. How can you sit down? Like, he uses that hectoring tone a bit. And then afterwards he says, oh, but you are my, you're dearest to me. So he brings in that other kind of tone where it's a parenting thing also, actually, to be able to play good cop and bad cop at the same time, and then slowly bring that person around. That is one. The second thing of good governance is to take your stakeholder with you. You are not walking off ahead, you are convincing that person why they need to be on this path. And I think the third and most important thing was, in the end, at the end of all this, Vishwarupa has happened, everything has happened. Arjuna is completely convinced that Krishna has the answers to everything. And he says, I'm convinced, Vasudeva, you tell me what I should do and I will do it. And at that point, Krishna says, Yatha ichasi tatha kuru. Like, do what you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. So it's more about being an inspirational kind of person where you give them options and say, these are the things that would happen if you did this or that. But the choice finally is up to you. So that kind of leadership where you're able to delegate to people and not say, you have to toe my line. Krishna could have just said, you do what I say. And Arjuna would have done it also, because by that time he was so convinced. But Krishna said, I'm not. I will, you have to decide. These are the options. I have described to you all the different ways this could go. But in the end, you have to take responsibility for your action and you have to do it. So that taking ownership, if the leader also displays that and encourages people, followers, to also display that same ownership for their work wherever they are, that then you build a whole cohort of leaders. You don't build followers. And
So
that
the key is sense of ownership,
yes,
sense
yes,
of ownership, and sense of responsibility.
responsibility for every action that you take. Yeah.
As Sri Sri Ravi Shankar said once, you cannot be corrupt if you belong to the place.
Belong to the
Belong if you have a sense of belonging.
belonging. Yeah, sure.
Today, that's what's most needed at the moment is the application of Gita in our governance.
Yeah. I mean, if
Why do you think?
everyone,
Why do you
sorry,
think when we all as a country revere Gita, but not apply Gita? Why? Why do you think? We as people, we as people, all all revere Gita, all celebrate Krishna consciousness all the time. Why don't we practice it? What do you think is required to actually practice it and imbibe it in one's life? Why? What do you think is needed? Applicability of Gita. What are the few steps you can suggest for the youth, the people, everybody across length and all sections of society? How do we live Gita?
I think if each of us does our own work to the best of our ability without comparing ourselves to others, without, trying to cut corners, trying to get convenience for, or saying, or the whataboutery, what about them? They are not doing, so why should I do? Just leave all of that. And why our leaders themselves are not doing, so why should I do? Doesn't matter whether anybody else is doing it or not. If each of us, from from the lowest to the highest, from the weakest sections to the highest sections, if each of us can do our own duty absolutely to the best of our ability, the entire society will suddenly be a far more beautiful society than it is. So I think that's all we need to take pride in our own work. Don't think of your work as less than or less important, less relevant than anybody else's. Whatever tiny job you've been given at any time of the day or any phase of your life, do it to the best of your ability and with great dedication and almost like a sense of that devotion, because work is sacred. Work is sacred. They say work is worship. In Kannada, we say kaya kave kailasa. Work is worship. Just do that work to the best of your ability. Treat it like a puja. Every action that you do, and that's what it means. Offer or every action to me. Treat every action that you do as a form of worship. Every piece of work, and I think we'll have a great society.
Are you children made this suggestion in the school assemblies? Are you children? Have you ever heard your teachers or assemblies discuss Gita?
Yes, ma'am. In our school, we have we will be memorizing the Gita, and we'll have competitions. We belong to Chinya Mission, ma'am. So we used to have competitions, and like up to from my first standard to ninth standard, I know up to 9 chapters in by heart. So each year, one chapter we will be given with, and we have to know the verses with the meaning. So by this
And you?
we I
Okay, good. Ipshita, you? Did you ever hear it in the school? I can understand Chinmaya Mission doing this because
We have
Chinmaya
had
Mission.
discussions in the school because we have classes which speak on a variety of topics. So we have had the discussions on the Gita and on other religious scriptures as well, contrasting them together and bringing about the parallels that exist between several of them on a common note. I am from a Catholic minority school, so I am a part of such a school. So we do have those discussions, yes.
Discussions of what kind? Once in a while or on a regular
No,
basis?
they are usually in earlier we had it two classes in a week. Now with the advent of the exams, it's been reduced to one class in a week, and it's on a variety of topics. It's basically a moral class on morality, moral science, etc. So the Gita forms a part of the discussions that we have over there, ma'am.
What do you discuss? A shloka or a
It is
philosophy?
a
Character?
philosophy and a general topic. Like, for example, the part that I picked up in my short speech over there, that was something that we discussed over there. That the Gita has several warnings, but its first warning is that society will fracture the moment we sow the seeds of division, the moment we claim some people are ours and some are not, and that will ultimately find us fighting on the Kurukshetra.
Ishnavi?
Good evening, ma'am. It's Shanvi.
Tanvi?
Ma'am, I've studied from a convent school, and actually, we weren't. Our articles used to get checked. We weren't really allowed, I think, to speak on the Gita because we used to discuss the Bible in moral science class, but not the
Not
Gita.
the
All
Gita. The other
yeah.
two?
Good evening,
Anushka?
ma'am.
Huh.
Good evening, ma'am.
Anna,
Uh, in
yes.
in our school, we used to have Gita chanting competition. We used to have Havan Yajnas every Monday, as our school followed Arya Samaj.
And the other young lady?
Anushka?
Good
Anushka?
evening,
Yeah.
ma'am. We used to have clubs in our school. So the public speaking club in which I was enrolled in, we used to have discussions and various interpretations of the single slok. The various interpretations from the single slok that we can get, we used to discuss on that. So yes, we had discussions about Gita in our school.
Well, Rupa, one of the biggest takeaways I got out of the Gita, reading of the Gita, understanding of the Gita, I went away for a while. I was having a bout of cough. So, sorry if you discussed it. Is the Indriya concept, the five Indriya of the five absorptions, where how do you withdraw? Unless you withdraw these five Indriya, and that's what leads to you to meditation and your
Yeah.
self introspection. If you
Yeah.
discuss even in my absence. I'm
No.
grateful I missed it, sorry. But I
No.
think what goes inside the ear, what goes inside the eye, what goes inside the mouth, what goes inside here, and what I think it's the five indriyas, the five senses, as he said, the five horses were they mentioned. So if you have them in your control, the five senses, you remain on track. But if your five senses go different directions, that's when the you will go different and the horses will go different directions. I think one of the best way if one can adopt the self observation of these five senses, the sight, the hear, the nose, the mouth, and the touch. I think that's the biggest essence because that makes you self aware. It's a heightened self-awareness and keeps you on. Once you're self-aware, and that's what leads to meditation. When
Yes.
meditation makes you self-observe, what's thinking, what's hurting me, and what is it that makes you listen to your own self. I thought I would just share with you my essence of it.
Thank
Besides
you.
other, besides besides the karma yoga which inspires you to go on doing your duty to the best of your ability. Go ahead.
जी टाइम तो पूरा हो गया है, बट अ लॉट टू शेयर. आई थिंक बच्चों टेक अवे तो अब टाइम अभी नहीं है. आई थिंक आई शेयर्ड माय लिटिल थॉट्स विद यू, बट आई थिंक गॉड इज सिंपल, एवरीथिंग एल्स इज कॉम्प्लिकेटेड.
Can I just play something, Saina?
जी जी जी.
यदा यदा धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृताम् धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि.
जी यहीं पे फिर पूरा करते हैं सेशन को. हाँ बच्चों, बस ध्यान रखो एंड ट्राई इम्प्लीमेंटिंग ऑल दैट यू आर लर्निंग टू योर रियल लाइफ. सरल रहो, सब ब्लेस्ड है. सरलता.
Thank you, Rupa, for your
Thank
time.
you.
And
So
very
much.
precious time you gave us.
थैंक यू. पूरा
Willingly.
करेंगे. जी, हरे
Lovely
कृष्णा.
interacting with the five of you. Lovely with
Thank
the
you.
students.
Thank
Very
you.
nice to
Thank you.
meet you.
थैंक यू फॉर योर टाइम. हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा. जय धर्म.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
खुश
Bye.
रहो, हंसते रहो. बाय. टेक केयर.